Yeah.
But then when you look back on it, you're like, oh, that was the best era. Like,
Yeah.
it was just, everything was just,
Simplified?
It was very simplified. It was very like, you get your cartoons in the morning type thing, and you get your Simpsons at 6 o'clock on Channel 10 type thing. Like that was, and you just made up the middle of the day with whatever you can,
Go, go, go! And you're doing it, he's in! That's a massive crash. And it's happened immediately! This is amazing! Big shot, and it's lights out, and away we go!
What about for you, for your first go-kart, as you was talking about with your go-kart experience, steering it with your brother?
Yeah.
Did you do any like hire karts or anything before doing any of straight into the club stuff?
Yeah, so we jumped into hire karts as much as we possibly could because it was just more affordable. Like Dad could take us down there for an afternoon. We go and beat the shit out of each other on and off the track.
Yeah.
It's just typical brothers. And then like take us home and we'd sit there and talk about it. And Dad would give us times. He'd time us with a stopwatch or something like that. So we felt like the professional race drivers and went from there. It was one Christmas, Dad bought me and my brother a Tibi kart with I think it had a J engine on it.
Yeah.
And we were just like, over the moon, fascinated about it. We used to run it down the Indy 800 track.
Yeah.
Down here in Sydney because it's just easier to get onto and stuff like that. And
I've never been there.
I haven't been there for years.
Yeah.
But looking at the photos and stuff like that when it's not flooded by like 20 meters of water.
Yeah, I know.
But it's actually quite a nice little track. It hasn't changed its layout since I've been there as like a 8, 9, 10-year-old. I can't remember how old I was then.
Yeah.
But it's a cool little track, and Dad used to push us around and swear and carry on and all that type of stuff. And
that was in the Tibi kart.
Yeah, that was in the Tibi kart. So he'd kind of jump into a session, I'd jump into a session, stuff like that. It was mainly practice stuff, like because that's all we could do. That's all we could afford. We were just kind of thankful of the opportunity of even being in a kart type thing. So we thought we were the next, Ayrton Senna, Michael Schumacher type thing, or Peter Brock or Mark Scape, who were idolising at the time. So, and then obviously, it dripped off a bit, and then I really started getting back into it when I became an apprentice mechanic. Pretty much with my first paycheck, I went straight out and said, because I've been thinking about it all these years, I said, that's it, I'm getting a go-kart again. I'm getting back into karting, and bought the biggest piece of shit AX6 from a fucking shonky used car salesman. I was like, why meet him? Oh, shit, he's kind of cop it. It's like, well, I didn't know better. I was just like so happy to get it, and I'd run it around as best as possible and do little things to it. And just as, money came in, I was getting paid like $300 a week or something like that as a
Do you remember the characteristics between the two go-karts? Because you had the J and then the one that you bought. Do you remember any characteristics before driving? Like, because you've got a mechanic background.
They shared the same characteristics as both pieces of shit. So, if anything, they have a lot more in common. Like, I remember turning up and it'd have like 10-year-old Bridgestones on it or something like that. And you're like, it can't steer. And you're like, the guys would come over and go, I wonder why, mate. Like, you're literally on skates. But it was one thing, I couldn't buy, so I had to learn. So you'd save up and buy a set of tyres and bolt them on, save up, do this, and then you kind of like scrap that cart and get into another one and drive that. And then, all right, all the front guys are running this, so you try and buy their second-hand ones and save up. And it was just trying to be as budget-friendly as possible.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted it to happen. I don't care what was going to happen. I was going to be a racing something.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be on track. And I just had to make it happen. Every weekend, every week was dedicated towards it.
Did you have any local go-kart teams at Newcastle helping you out? Or did you just learn on your own with your dad?
Yeah, mate. I kind of took it on myself then, like since when I became apprentice and took my own kart. Dad knows how to fix cars and stuff like that, but I remember being in a national title once and I was changing axles out to a different thickness, and he goes, why are you changing it? What's wrong with this axle? It looks straight.
Yeah.
Just not understanding the car setup and stuff.
Yeah.
Doug Matheson and Dan Ferry were two people that helped me out. Because they grew up around it.
Yeah.
Stuff. So you relied on them and became mates with them, and they helped you out and all that type of stuff. And yeah, they were the two teams that I kind of ran with. Like, I couldn't afford to run with Top Gun. I was nowhere near their level. I could probably scrounge some money up to get Troy to teach me once or twice. But, it wasn't in the budget. I used to budget $500 a race weekend, including tyres, chains, race entry fuel to get to the track and everything like that. And I just hoped to hell that I wouldn't have a mechanical or wouldn't have an accident, you know.
Yeah, because you had no spares.
Well, that's it. And the spares were literally like you were fishing out of the bin for a side pod or a bar or something like that. And you're like, I can fix that.
Yeah.
So you take it home, straighten it out, put it in, then throw it in your shitty trailer, box trailer, and do that. And that was the only way I could make it happen. You know, it was beg, borrow, steal, just do what I wanted to do.
Yeah. And then obviously from there, did you look up to anyone in Newcastle Kart Club though? Like as a driver or not really? Like the ferries are a big part of that club.
Yeah, they are. I think Dan still is a bit. I still talk to Dan a bit, but you know, we just don't talk about go-karting anymore. You know, I did heaps of years in there. I think I looked up to anyone that was just beating me, to be honest with you. You know, when you run first sometimes and you run fifth and then you run whatever you can at club meetings or state meetings and stuff like that. Pretty much everyone there that helped me in some way was, you know, beneficial.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And I still keep in touch with them heaps.
Yeah.
And, I couldn't really put a finger on exactly who.
Yeah.
Type thing. So, yeah.
And do you still go back there, though? I haven't been there in years. Newcastle Kart Club.
I haven't been there. Same thing. I haven't been there for a while. It's only half an hour away from me. I bought a go-kart. I actually bought my old state title car. You know, Ali sitting there shaking her head. I had to get a storage shed to hide half the shit I bought, to be honest with you.
That's actually awesome, though, that you found your own old go-kart and bought it.
Well, it was actually... I was getting really desperate and stuff like that, but I wanted to keep going. And I found out something that would help me was I could keep my engines, but lease or borrow a kart because there was no way in hell I could find $5,000 for a new chassis.
Yeah.
Like that chassis had to last me years. I was welding them up in between meetings. I remember going to a state meeting and thinking Griffith, and I couldn't realise why it wouldn't handle, and it snapped the whole C channel off the right-hand front.
Holy shit.
And I couldn't figure it out, and it's like loose and stuff like that. And I got underneath there, and it was hanging off. Like it had one tack weld left to go. So I've gone, well, I've got no other choice. I had to strip it down, raced into town, beg, borrow, and steal someone to weld it up for me. Yeah. They kind of just put it in place, welded it, went off. I think I finished like top 10 or something.
But did you figure that out in practice? That the
yeah, so I was in like, because I had like 3-day meetings or something like that, and something stupid. And I drove like 8 hours to be there. Like, and it was like such a fucking pain in the ass.
Oh my God. These go-kart days.
Oh.
Tragic. This is going to make me sound so shallow, but I was like, mate, if you were still in go-karts, I don't know if this would be a thing.
I had to buy the Aussie car to keep the relationship going. You heard it here first, guys. I'm just doing it to save a relationship. But, so that's what you kind of did. But the original go-kart, I think I finished 7th in Tamworth or something like that in the X30 class because I was running X30s. And there was like 20, 25 people or something like that. And I thought that was just like unreal. Like I thought I won the thing, you know. I would have finished 6th, but like someone overtook me on the last corner and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that kart was an old haggard black diamond CRG that Ferry had for years.
Yeah.
And then I kind of left it and all that type of stuff. And then I started my own business, so I sold all the racing stuff and that, and said I've got to really focus on the business here, so no racing. But years later, I was talking to Ferry and said, I want a go-kart because it's a lot cheaper to practice in a go-kart than what it is the Aussie car. The Aussie car is a pain in the ass if you take it out and costs you a heap of money. So you need something to kind of keep your skill set up, and a go-kart's pretty similar to an Aussie car because they're so ragged and on the edge. And he goes, I'll sell you one. And it comes with an old road tax and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, cool. All right, no worries. Went to his storage shed. He pulled it out. And I said, I know this car. It still had my number 28 on it as well. Like,
that's so good.
He's like, well, because he wasn't doing anything. He just wanted to clear his stock. And he's like, you can have it. So I was like, yeah, mate.
Sweet.
I just bought it for the sake of just hanging it on the wall type thing, you know.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't really loyal to any brand in karting like most people was. I was just trying to get a kart to sit in and drive. And so now I can say the one I used to use all the time, now I own.
Yeah.
It's a lot worse state now than what it was back then. But I was just kind of happy to have it.
Yeah, and cleaned it up. You're a mechanic for Ford, weren't you, in your early days?
Yeah, so I did my first apprenticeship at Ford. So I remember being at school. I think it was about year 11 or so when the HSC, high school, or whatever, the exams were coming up, and I'm sweating because I didn't study for it, and I'm no good at exams, and I was like, this ain't gonna work for me.
Yeah.
Mum said, all right, you can leave school, but you got to get a job, because I just wanted to leave school because I hated school.
Yeah.
Couldn't stand school. Never got anything out of it. But when I went into the council's office, I should say, and I said, I want out. And they said, all right, what do you like? And I said, I like cars. And they're like, all right, I'll get you a job with Ford across the road, like literally across the road from the school. And I was like, oh, but I like Holden, so I don't want to work on Ford.
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
It actually worked really good because that was when the BA and the FG Falcon BF in, and they're the biggest pieces of shit known on the road. So I was busy. Like, I always had a job, which is good. I was secure, but don't, like, and that's where I think I lost my love of, like, being a diehard Holden fan.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I own Holdens. I love them. I drive them. I fix them and stuff like that. But once you become a mechanic, you realise that all cars are pieces of shit. It's just a varying degree of what shit they kind of are.
Yeah.
So you learn to love, cars equally, and then you realise it's just a shell over a body, that you're sitting in. If someone said, can you drive a Ford tomorrow? I say, well, yeah, whatever. It doesn't worry me. It's a car. I'll drive it. It's 4 wheels and a heap of fun. So.
Yeah, and you've also worked for, was it Ziggy's Hot Rods?
Yeah, so
the Hot Rods. You got to explain to me about that.
I got sacked from there, actually.
Perfect.
Now we have a story.
Yeah, we have a story.
You said you were going to dig up all this shit. I tell you what, on the record, my missus is here. Don't talk about ex-girlfriends.
It's all right. Ali, that's off the cards.
That's it. I forgot to put that in the little pamphlet you sent out. What's off the card? It's like, cut it. So I left Ford, and I wanted to become a vehicle engineer because we were building, hot rods and mini trucks and all that type of stuff with my mates and all that. And I wanted to be the one that certified them off to make it a hell of a lot easier for people to get on the road with their modified cars. And it's just, I love working on cars. I love the engineering around them. That's why I like working on my own race cars and stuff like that and understanding what they do. I think it makes you a better driver as well. But I started studying to be a mechanical engineer, I think, off my own back. So I was paying TAFE courses and all that type of stuff to try and do that. Then I realised I really needed that school finishing degree that I was looking for because I was hopeless at maths and all that.
Yeah.
Still enjoyed it, but I did it out of just because I had to. But led off that, I left Ford and said I want to go get a job in the industry building cars and hot rods and stuff so I can get a better understanding. And, that was a bit of a shit show of a thing, Like, I remember, mate, I might as well say this because I haven't said it in years. Like, it's a lot bigger now, and I think it's gone into something big.
Yeah.
But I remember, there was me and another panel beater there, and something happened with him, and he was living in the shed, and it wasn't a workshop. It was a shed with an office.
He was living in there?
Yeah, he was living in there. And this is like, if you ever come on the podcast, this is quite nice. This is like the Shangri-La of sheds,
Yeah.
Like, I walked in downstairs and seeing like a Porsche 911, Turbo West, and I'm sitting there going, what is that thing? This was just like metal and scrap and shit everywhere. And he'd literally in the office roll out a swag and stuff like that and sleep in there. Yeah. And then, like, I remember coming in one morning, and because there was no showers or anything like that, there was a shitter in there and a clothes washing machine.
Yeah.
And I remember always seeing like a crate and a heap of water around in the morning.
Yeah.
And he was washing himself with a bucket in the middle of the workshop, and I'm like, fuck this.
No way.
Yeah. You're walking through it all day. It wasn't like he broomed it up and stuff like that. And I was like, is this?
So you had to work through it?
Yeah, you just work through it type thing. But I was so like young and green. It was my first job after leaving Ford, and I'm like, no, this is, you got to work from the bottom and work your way up. I understood that and all that type of stuff. And then, it just got 6 months in. I just gone, I don't know what I want to do anymore. I don't want to do this engineering stuff, and no one's giving me a lead. No one's giving me help. I'm not,
So you weren't getting mentored at all?
No. So I had, that's the one thing I've really learned is the power of mentors is the one reason I got to where I am now. if you can attach onto a guy, and I still get mentored now. I've still got business mentors. I've got sponsors mentors. I've got racing mentors. None teaching you. You're not paying them to teach or anything like that. But they're just pushing you in the right direction or opening a door for you. Like, that's all I say to people I need. Open the door, give me the introduction, I'll do the selling. Like that's what I want to do type thing. But yeah, it was like 6 months and they weren't happy with me. I wasn't happy with them, you know, everything was a bit foul in it. So I just said, bugger this, I want out. And,
did they have any cool restorations though before you left?
Yeah, they had like they had this thing called Warhorse, which was a Mustang, which they finished before I got there, which was pretty cool. I don't know, it's a Mustang, you know.
Yeah.
Like
at this point, you're just like a mechanic, so you kind of like, oh, it's cool, but at the same time working on them.
That's it. You get a bit blasé to cars.
Want to hear more? Each week we will share the hottest clips from our guest interviews on YouTube. But to hear the full episode, make sure to subscribe or follow us on your favourite podcast platform.